Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Madison Carter, and today I will be presenting the Library and Information Science Abstracts database. I will be referring to the database as its shortened name, LISA. There are three main objectives for this presentation. We want to familiarize ourselves with LISA's features, functions, and really the interface as a whole. This includes going over the topics that are available on the database, the currency of the information, where to find the ProQuest thesaurus, how to use said thesaurus, where to locate basic search, where to locate advanced search, and any help features the system has. Our second objective is we will learn how to use the search function of the database. There is a basic and advanced search. We will navigate both of these. We will answer the questions of, does the database support a Boolean search? Does it support truncation? Can this database support command lines? And lastly, we will conduct three different searches within the database. We will utilize the Boolean and truncation searches. We will be able to find if the database allows us to save, print, and email records. We will see how the database ranks and filters results. Ultimately, conducting these searches will give us all practice in the database and will aid us in future searches. Our goal is to become as close to experts as we can in this database. The outcomes of this presentation should be that you'll be able to completely navigate the database. You should be able to know where everything is on the database. Another outcome is students will be able to conduct searches, basic and advanced. You should know what both searches entail and how to properly utilize the functions supported by the search: Boolean, truncation, command lines, and thesaurus. Students should also be able to navigate the results of the search and give relevant information in regard to search topics. We want to make sure the results are relevant to the post-search queries. Before we fully get into our presentation, I would like to take a note on choosing a database. Not all databases cover a multitude of categories. Not all databases that do cover a multitude of categories have a large number of items in their database to retrieve. When you are conducting searches, you must keep this in mind. Look at the description of the database before you use it to ensure you do not waste your time. LISA is a database that is perfect for those whose queries will revolve around the topics of library and information science, hence the name. It is perfect for info courses and this course. The first thing that we're going to go over is how to find LISA. First thing that you're going to need to do is be logged into the UNT University Library. Next, you're going to click on Databases under the Search It All function right here. Then you're going to type in LISA. At first it's going to say no much found, but when you hit enter, there's the database in its full name. You're going to click on it. This is the LISA database, or Library and Information Science Abstracts. At the top, near the navigation labels, you're going to see a label that says ProQuest. ProQuest is a series of databases, but this is specifically for the LISA database. This menu right here that you're going to click on basically has the same navigation labels right over here: the basic search, advanced search, the change databases, with the added help function. If we go over to the far right over here, this little icon is the recent searches. When we do conduct our searches, all the recent searches are going to populate there, so we can go back and see what we searched previously, if we would like to. This folder is going to be items that we have selected when we do our searches, and if we like a specific item that is retrieved, we can click on a little checkbox to the left and it'll populate up here. This person kind of takes that a little step further. If you click on it, you'll see a bookshelf. You can save results under the bookshelf if you have an account, a research account, as you can see right up here. There's also an option to exit the ProQuest database. This is the home page, and it also doubles as the basic search home page. Scrolling down, we will find basically the abstract for the database as a whole. As you can see, It abstracts over 300 periodicals from over 40 countries and in 20 languages. The currency of this database is 1969 to our current year. The subject coverage is found here. That is all the information and library sciences topics that you could imagine and want. Information management, information technology, internet technology, knowledge management, librarianship, libraries and archives, library management, library technology, library use and users, online information retrieval. So any search query that we are going to post through here should have to do with these subjects, like library funding, general organization of information, stuff like that will be found here. Over here it says that it also, the LISA database can be found in the Library and Information Science Collection and the Social Science Premium Collection, which are also two other databases that ProQuest have. LISA has a good search tip tool right here that can be found, and it kind of proves to you that Boolean search functions are supported with those, as we see the OR function and then the quotation marks. And it also has a function right here under the search bar for search tips, and this is the general basic search bar. Now that we've seen what the basic search page looks like, we'll go to the advanced search page. As you can see, it brings up a plethora of other things to navigate through. Command line functions, the thesaurus, that is the ProQuest thesaurus that we'll click into soon. Field codes, and again that search tips label that will give us some tips on how to properly search. As we can see here, these search bars with the AND function right here yet again proves that this supports the Boolean search. If we click on these drop down boxes, you can sort through specifically what you want to find. So if you were looking for a specific document title, you could click on that and then put it back in the search bar over here. If you knew that title, if you knew a specific author, you could again use that and click on that and then put it over here in the search bar. Also with the advanced functions, you can sort by language if you're looking for specific languages, document type, which, you know, goes from article to books, book chapter. It even goes to volume, videos, podcast, and the like. And here's some more source types that can be found: journals, magazines, dissertation, and theses. While you can hit the search bar, you can also hit the clear form, which will clear out everything that is tagged over here or selected over here. Clicking on the thesaurus, it brings up another page that is the ProQuest thesaurus. So if you are conducting a search and you want to find a term that matches the thesaurus, you can do so, especially if it's not originally popping up in the search that you are populating. It'll give you synonyms for those terms that could help with the search. Clicking on field codes brings up more search tips, but on things that you can select that will help you narrow down items. So you would type in DF, like for document feature, DF, and then in parentheses you would type in, you know, like, oh, I'm looking for something that has a map. Or with author, you could type in the author's last name. Now, of course, this is a generic last name that it is showing, so it'll bring up all the Smiths in the database that have something printed. If we go back up here and click on the search tips, it's going to bring up a little page that shows us, gives us a few search tips. This shows a sort of adjacency searches. It shows how to perform a truncation search. And the like. If we click over here on the question mark icon, it brings up the Resource Center. Over here you can go to the Support Center. You can look at the different updates. You can go through a guided tour. There's also training and an accessibility statement and a research skills button that will help you with your research skills. If you go back to the top under that menu that we first went through, and clicking on the help button, it'll bring up another page that allows for the ProQuest help. Under the ProQuest help it's essentially going to give you a search bar. If there's any searches that you have in there, you can look in there, and it'll help bring up other topics related to that, if there are any that you can find. But it's also going to give you essentially a step further than what the search tips page did, and go through step by step different advanced search functions. It'll show you that it autocompletes. It'll show you how to use Boolean factors and what those Boolean operators are, the and, the or, the not. If you click on the Table of Contents button at the top left of this page, it's essentially going to break everything down for you. How to use field codes, how to use those advanced search options, the thesaurus, the search results, the document view, and the My Research. Anything you could need help on would be found here. I want to go back to the main page, so we're going to click the menu, and then we're going to hit basic search again, and again this brings us back to the main page. The first search I want to do through the basic search. The most important part of the database is learning how to use the search function, as this is what we're using the databases for. Whether it be for our own research purposes or by helping somebody else with the search query, we have to learn how to use the search functions. First thing that we're going to want to do is come up with a query for the database. Our first query is going to be funding programs for libraries. I'm actually going to adjust that to funding programs for public libraries. But we can do both to see if there is a difference in the results that are generated. So I'm not going to put quotation marks around the search just yet. I'm just going to do a basic funding programs for public libraries. This generates 16,284 results, as we can see. Now, this is a basic search. This is not our advanced search. With our basic search, as you can see in some of the titles, that there are highlighted words. All the highlighted words are going to have to be words that are in our search. They have no particular order to it. As you can see, though our search is funding programs for public libraries, it says programs in public libraries. Public library. Public for public library. Funding is highlighted. Funding is highlighted right down here. Public libraries. There is no, even though some of these are going to be relevant titles, there's really no way to tell if it's just for the generic funding for programs for public libraries. Now, if we put quotation marks around our search, let's see how that changes. One result is given because this is searching for a particular phrase. So the particular phrase is highlighted in this abstract for this result. Impact of external technology funding programs for public libraries. I'm going to once again take out the quotation marks and bring about the original results. Again, 16,284 results. But if you look on the left hand, this is where we can sort by relevance, source type, and the like. So under the relevance, it says oldest first or most recent first. Those are three different things from the drop-down menu. So if you click on the oldest first, it's going to have July 1975 as the date for this issue, for this result. Most recent first, January 2020, 2025. So that hasn't even been officially published yet. That's probably going to be a journal that will be published in January. And then the relevance once again. And it brings up something that was published in 2016. One of the questions that you might be asking yourself is, what does sorting by relevance mean? When we looked at the most recent, the issue was from 2025, but this issue that is ranked as the most relevant is from 2016. Well, the results are brought up by our queries, but also it looks at the frequency of the words from our query in that result. It looks at the tags that are used in that result, and that is how they come up with the results, those that are most relevant. If we scroll down on the left side, there are other things that we can do to make our number of results lower. We can sort by a source type. As you can see, there are 2,653 scholarly journal items, 967 dissertations, and less. We can also go by publication, narrow that down. So it's going from the 1975 to 2025, but if we bring that closer, we can narrow it down by year. And as you can see, there's kind of a bubble in the middle of the three bars towards the end, that there were more publications during 2000 to 2025, which makes sense given the number of publications that were probably out in that time. But there are, again, more things that we can sort by. If we continue scrolling, we could also do publication title. We could do document type, subject, company organization, location, person, and language. Up here, we can also click on a number of things closer right below the search bar. We can do email. We can do it by citations if we click on it. And we can do things to be saved by, and then we're giving more options over here. Over on this side, we can modify our search by clicking on that. We can once again look at our recent searches, and then we can save searches. Each result also has that those same three labels as it does right over here. Again, it's for site, email, and if you click on this, it saves it to your research. When you click on a result, it brings up the abstract, but then there is also an option to click on a full text, which will bring up the PDF, and you can look at the details of the entire article. So this one has the full text on here. It doesn't always, though. Sometimes you have to click a link that'll take you out. Down at the bottom, there will be suggested sources. Similar articles can be found here, and then if you click on that, that'll show more search suggestions. But every result on here is going to have a suggested sources function that'll generate more items like the one that you're looking at, which can be useful for research if you're looking for similar items. Scrolling back up to the top, there's another block for suggested resources. And then you can also search with indexing terms. Once again, you can download this as a PDF, a site, copy the URL, You can print the page, and then this will bring up more options. So we have a most popular label, which as you can see is downloading, citing, email, printing, saving to my research, and added to the selected items, which if you remember is up at the right hand corner. You can also save it. There's more citation options depending on which one you use. And then there's other options down at the bottom to save as a PDF or to look at it text only. If you go back over to the left under Abstract and Details, this basically brings up all the details that are with the article. There's more indexes and meta tags to be found right here under the details. Brings up the location, company, organization, again, all the meta tags that are found with this result. And while not every result will have all the same information that this one does, generally much of it is the same. There should be meta tags, there should be an author, a title, the publication, if it is a journal article or just a journal in general, it should have the volume, the issue, the page numbers. In general, all results do have the publication year and the publisher. If it is a book, it'll have the ISBN or ISSN. Result page at the top left corner, right above our logo, there's going to be a back to results. And this once again will bring us back to our basic search results page. Now we are going to use this same search query to do an advanced search. So I'm going to click our label that'll bring us back to the home page, and then click on advanced search. Advanced search is all about narrowing things down and finding specifics. Typically advanced search is, in my opinion, more pinpointed, while basic search you may use more for browsing purposes. But with an advanced search, you're looking for something specifically. So, with our query once again being funding programs for public libraries, we can do a Boolean search. We can put in right in here, and I'm going to use quotations because quotations are specific phrases. As you saw with the basic search, if you don't want a specific phrase and if you're just looking for essentially those words in no particular order, that's when I would want to type like funding programs for public libraries, searching both of those terms, but it'll bring up results, and I will show you, that are going to be two different things and probably two different numbers of results. So I'm going to type in, and this is a Boolean search because it is the AND function. I'm going to type in funding programs and public libraries. Then I'm going to go down here and click search. This brought up 16,370 results. As you can see up here, this is how a Boolean search looks with the AND function. It is in parentheses with the AND in the middle in capital letters, and then the second phrase term is in parentheses. And if you look at our results, the results are different from what we were given in our basic search. This is from 2012. But all of the left hand, this content box that allows us to narrow down our search, is the same as it was for the basic search. The only thing that is different with using the advanced search and basic search, as I was saying, is that it's bringing up the search boxes that support the Boolean terms. How to search through the command line, the thesaurus to help you find synonyms for particular words if they're not being found originally. It's showing you the field codes if you want to click on that. Now we're going to change it. Instead of just doing it without quotations, let's see how many results pop up when we do quotations. If you recall, when we did our basic search, it was 16,400 to 1. Let's see what it does with this. 47 results. And then again, when you do the quotation marks, you are bringing up specific phrases. This can be both a good and a bad thing. It's nice having a limited number of results because you can comb through it more specifically. You're also giving more control of what exactly it is that is being searched for. You know, when you do, like, I want funding programs and public libraries. I want both of those things in my results. That's what I need. And then it gives us 47 results, which is great. But when you do conduct researches, you also really don't want to limit yourself. You know, sometimes some queries take a few different searches and you're adjusting the information that you're putting in, and that is a good thing because you want to see everything that is being brought up. You know, when you conduct it, whether it be for research or if you're helping somebody else with the search, results are good. Relevant results are even better. But definitely want to take a look at that. So we're going to go back to the advanced search page. And just for curiosity's sake, let's see if I did funding programs or public libraries. That or term is going to bring up, hypothetically, many more results than what our and operator did. That is because you were pulling phrases that are both funding programs in general and public libraries in general. So there's going to be some overlap in those results for our and Boolean operator, but there is going to be a whole slew of other results. So let's see what happens. 81,864 as opposed to our original 16,000. Now that isn't to say that some of these results aren't relevant and good, but there's also going to be a slew of results that you are not going to want to use because it doesn't have both of those things that our query is wanting. Personally, I like to use the AND function, the AND Boolean operator, because generally it is more helpful than not. More operator to try out for this. We did and, we did or, but now we're going to do not. So let's say that I didn't want government programs to be considered in this. I just wanted general programs that had nothing to do with government programs. Now that might not bring up anything, but we're going to see what happens. 6,968 results still popped up. Now, this could, you would still want to look at the abstracts for the results for this search, because the abstracts are really going to tell you what exactly, and the meta tags are going to tell you what exactly that the result is about. But the not operator does work. Forming queries, even though what relevant searches are important to look at, because again, it's all about the frequency of the words that are in your search that is bringing up those relevant more relevant retrievals first. But that doesn't mean that you always should go with those first. You know, would I really want to go through for a result from 1985? Is that going to be the most beneficial, article or journal for a search that I'm doing right now in 2024? I don't know. It depends on what exactly you and the person that you are doing the query for, if you are doing it for somebody else, is looking for. 2024 might be the better option for the second one. But again, just because the first 20 are the most relevant doesn't mean that those are the ones that you need to choose. Sometimes you want to go with results that maybe less people are going to look at. If you want to, maybe you think that will bring up just different articles. So not everybody's using the same articles. If somebody is doing the same query as you or the same research paper as you are. Look at the thesaurus, so you know how to access it and that you know how to use it with the LISA database. So I'm going to click on the thesaurus. Again, this is a ProQuest thesaurus for all the ProQuest databases, but there should be some similarities. Now I'm going to type in library and see if there's anything in the thesaurus that matches up with that. You can click a term in the list below to see available, narrower, broader, and related terms. So if you're just looking for a library, you could also go to library catalogs, library classification. That might be library collections that you want to look at. Go ahead and looking at the search, I'm going to add the term programs, so that'll better fit our original query. Hit find. Okay, so it brings up library programs. Let's see if it brings up anything else. No, it just brings up library programs, which is fine. Okay, so let's go to funding. See if there's other things that we can look at when it comes to funding to just make our original query, if there's any more things that we can find. So if we click on funding over here, there's narrower terms with this one. That's good. So you have federal funding, fundraising, funding cuts, pension plan funding, research funding. Out of all of those, I would assume, well, for libraries particularly, it would be federal funding. And nothing else is going to pop up in the source for federal funding. Try as programs, since we're doing funding programs. So it brings up a plethora of options. I think we'll do is public library to see if that brings up broader and narrower terms, because programs did not generate any. So I'm going to click on public library. It's going to give me that list, and the first thing on here is public libraries. Now clicking that, it did. It brought up broader terms, which is libraries in general, and then a narrower term for that would be small libraries. So if we wanted to adjust our query, instead of doing public library, we could do funding programs for libraries. That'll bring up all different kinds of libraries, maybe more scholarly libraries if we were wanting to look at that, maybe more college libraries particularly, anything like that. If we did small libraries, which is good because we can look at the funding for small libraries, we could add that into our query. So I'm going to exit out of that screen. I'm going to go to our AND function, and I'm going to adjust the query to that with funding programs. Instead of public libraries, I'm going to do small libraries. See what that brings up. So our original query in advanced searches brought up 16,300 results. This one brings up 11,929. And I can see already that there are some differences in content that was brought up originally. I'm going to go ahead and click on this button that says modify search. It's going to bring us back here, and I'm going to go ahead and put the quotation marks around these items. See if we can find some specific search results for specific phrases. Hit search again. 4 results pop up. At an earlier point, sometimes using quotation marks around those Boolean operators, again, it's looking for like specific phrases when you do that. Sometimes it's incredibly helpful and narrows down all the research results, but then sometimes it narrows it down so much to where there's only 4 results. Again, when you're doing these queries and when you're doing these searches for researches, you got to play around with what you're typing in. There's a plethora of results that could come up in a database like this. This database houses over 900,000 results. So adjust your search accordingly. Again, sometimes results can be good. Maybe you'll find all that you need there. But keep in mind that there are other results that you can look for if you just adjust your search. We are going to do our second search now. With that search, we are going to look at truncation, which we know that this database allows for, but I want you to see that in action when you do a query. Second query, I want to focus on a search query that might be more related to information management in libraries. So consider about search queries is how they're going to be posed to you. If you are a librarian and a student comes in and they say, I'm looking for something about library management and how artificial intelligence is affecting how that works. If it improves it, if it, if it's making it worse, if it's making it better. But I specifically want to focus on like how it helps or not helps with cataloging or general organization. What you're gonna want to do is kind of interview them more on what they're looking for. And then when you go through that interview process, you're going to narrow that down into a query that is coherent for the LISA database or any database that you use. Now, taking in some of the keywords that the student was using, artificial intelligence, library management, with a focus, he said, on cataloging and organization. So with those keywords in mind, that is what you're going to build the search around. Now with this, I think it is going to be better to use the advanced search system. I do have a preference for it, but it is also easier to use when you're looking for pinpointed items. So I said that we were going to be looking at the truncation factor and how that works out with this, and we still will. But first I want to start out with how we are going to word our query. Again, artificial intelligence, library management, focus on cataloging and organization. With that in mind, I think we should start out with typing artificial intelligence in. I'll make sure it's spelled correctly first. We're going to use the AND operator. And then I'm going to type in library management. We will adjust this to the cataloging and organization first, or next. But first I want to focus on these two things and the number of items that it is going to generate. Okay, 410 results in this. I kind of like the first result and what it has to deal with. I want to look at the abstract on that one. And then we'll see how saving works if we do like this. So we're going to read the abstract. Look, you can look at the metadata on it by going to that abstract and details, looking at the relevance of those. This Eric subject, and Eric is another thesaurus that is used, so it is bringing up other items that could be generated through this thesaurus that could also pop up in a query. And same with these subjects. So I like this article and what it has to do with. I think that this could be something that our person uses. So what I'm going to do is come up here to all options, click on that, and then add to selected items. And it brings it up to the folder that we initially talked about when we went over the navigation for the Lisa. So I do want to go back to our results and look at a couple of others to see what's going on there. Now, just because I saved that result does not mean that we are definitely going to use it, but it is something for that person who asked about for our patron, our user, to look back at later. And he can make sure that it is something that he wants to use. So scrolling further down, this one looks promising. Application of artificial intelligence in libraries and its impact on library operations review. Now, if our person was in a hurry and he was just like, yeah, I like the title of that, that sounds good, what we could also do is select it over here. And if we scroll back up to the top, we'll see that it is once again in our folder. Now we are going to go ahead and let's modify our search to include what our person was also looking for. To reiterate, he wanted it to focus also on cataloging and organization. See how artificial intelligence helps with that. So I'm going to click the modify search button again. And it went back to a basic search, even though that's not what we're in, but we can click on advanced search. So down here, you can see that you can add a row to it. This allows us just to put in another phrase or keyword for our Boolean operators, and we're going to stick to that and operator right there. And for this one, I'm going to put in cataloging. See what happens with that. If it does bring up more options. With just artificial intelligence and library management, it brought up 410. So let's see what adding on cataloging does. Okay, I narrowed it down to 116 results. This one looks promising. We can look at the abstract and details to see, you know, if that's something that we would want to use. I see artificial intelligence. I don't see anything on cataloging. That doesn't mean that reading the actual PDF won't mention cataloging, but I think in general it does bring up the resource management and information management that could coincide with cataloging. So I'm going to go ahead and, like before, I'm going to save this. And it has been. So I'm going to go back to my results. I don't see Okay, so I see another one here, written in 2023. I see in the abstract that cataloging and library management are missing, which is promising. I see that specifically in my details in the metadata tags. So I'm going to go ahead and save this to, we'll add that to our selected items. Again, if you do have an actual login with this, you can add it to, you can create a research account, and that other function was add to my research. Now, if you wanted to, as I was saying earlier, you could go to suggested sources and click through these. These are sources that have stuff in common with the source that we're in right now. There might be some relevant information to that. But we're just going to go back to results. To reiterate a point I made earlier, sometimes we do not want to go by results that are in the first page. Even though that those might be the most relevant, that doesn't mean that they're wholly relevant to the search that you are conducting. I'm going to hit modify research again. I said that I wanted to show you in real time how truncation works. So what I'm going to do is hit on the label. And I'm going to do catalog, and I'll add a star to it. This is how truncation works. As you can see, I just hit catalog with the symbol, but in my results, cataloging pops up. Cataloger pops up. So it's extending the rest of that word, fitting it to it all. So the truncation function does in fact work. You can also try that with libraries. Just going to do that. Maybe that C. But we have libraries, library, librarian. So it does in fact work. And just to show you that our saved results are still there, I'm going to click on that folder. And there are the 4 results that we did for our second query. For our third and final search query, let's say that a student approaches you, another student, or that you have a paper due. And the question is, what are some of the things in information science, like technologies and trends that are happening currently? So the first thing that we're going to want to do, again, you're going to have that interview with the person, the patron, or you yourself. If this is you're writing a research paper, you would want to of the search. So some keywords: information science, emerging technologies, and trends. So those are the 3 main focal points of this search. So that is what we're going to build it around. Again, we're going to use advanced search for this. And once more, I would use the AND Boolean operator. I'm going to type in emerging technologies. Make sure I spell it right. And then we're going to type in information science. And then we're going to go ahead and hit search. There's 2019 results. So the very first thing that I want to look at is that keyword emerging. So the first thing that we need to do is sort by year. We obviously want results that are going to be more current. I'm going to enter a date range. You might also want to ask the question to yourself or to the person that you're doing the search for, how current do you need this to be? What do you count as emerging trends? I would say anything within the last year or 2 years is a good place to start. So we'll do 2020. And that brings it down to 531 results. Now, another thing you can do, you can keep it sorted by relevance and just keep an eye on that date in the abstract or in the details. But you could also look at most recent first and see what that brings up. Because again, as we have mentioned, sometimes, even though these are the most relevant, that doesn't mean that you're going to find what you're looking for on the first page of results. There's 531 results. There's only 20 items on this first page. If you can see here, those 4 selected items were for the previous query. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that out. Okay. So we're looking at emerging technologies. We're looking at what it is. Again, these are the most relevant, though, that at least in terms of frequency of what is brought up in the results versus what we put for our keywords in our search. So I do want to look through these, at least browse through them real quick to see what's going on. This seems like a good thing that our patron or we would want for our research paper. So I'm going to add that to those selected items. Those ones, if that it is a paper that you're looking for, you might want more scholarly journals as opposed to something like Welcome What's to Come, which is it's a journal, but it is a trade journal. So the stuff in it might not fully be there, or what might be the requirement for what we're looking for. So, let's go ahead and click on that scholarly journal link. And then continue the search. Looking at the different pages for the different results, I see a scholarly journal titled Super Librarian, the evolving role of librarians in technology spaces, which includes emerging trends like ChatGPT, general AI. So if we look at our abstract in details, there's something that said emerging technologies. That might be perfect because, again, librarianship is information science. So I'm going to go ahead and save that to my results as well. We could also take a look at modifying our search. Modifying our search to not include those quotation marks. Let's see if that changes the amount that we're generated with. We're still going to look at, we're still going to change the publication date of those just so that we still stick to those more current items. So that's 25,000 results. Now, this also isn't looking specifically at phrases anymore. It's looking at anything that has those items in it. So it's going to look at results that have emerging. It's going to look at results that have technologies. It's going to look at results that have information. It's going to look at results that have science in it. So that's why it brings up a plethora of more results. Mind is, and I've already said this, but to reiterate the point, advanced searches, it's nice to use the quotations and the Boolean operators to those results and give you a smaller pool of results. But when you don't use that, you get those higher values, the 25,000, which is an overwhelming number to look at. Those results down. Require you to look at, even though I don't see emerging technologies in this, if I click on the result and I read the abstract real quickly, it talks about how the development of science and technology and how that is changing the library and information science. This was not brought up in the previous search that we did, but this is a search that might be beneficial to the user. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Trends and quotation marks or around a one-word item really isn't beneficial because putting the quotations help you search for a particular phrase, so I'm not going to do that. But if we click on the search and going back to advanced search, we're going to change our emerging technologies to trends because that was also part of the query. We're going to do that and see what happens. So there's 32,444 results. That's a lot of results. That pulled down to publications that were done within the last few years. Going from trends to emerging technologies does change the search a lot because emerging technologies has to do with technology specifically, so that is more to do with the search. So we could just add another line in the operation to put in emerging technologies as well and see what that brings up, if it does. Not to say that there isn't any relevant information within trends and information science, because there will be stuff to be found in there. But utilizing those, 1,100 results are brought up. So we're going to find some stuff to add to the research in there. Narrow down those results and look through these and see what we can find that looks promising. That we were given could definitely be broadened upon, and you can look at that and when you're doing either the interview or when you get your specific for your research paper. Overlap in a lot of things that the emerging technologies and trends in information science could mean to how artificial intelligence is doing with information science, or how big data is doing with information science. That we have came up with are all focused on information science as a whole. It's just information science as a whole. These queries is to find out how Lisa generates the results and how to do searches within this database and what searches are this database. So I mean, anything involving information will do. When you are information database is one of the databases that is more straightforward to use. Proper labeling. The organ is nature. Not all data tip of this database lie in the search functions, but functions are spelled out for us. Luckily that we have the tips with these. The biggest part of the search, finding those relevant documents that you or the patron may need. And searches utilize the Boolean operations. Open to adjusting your search when you are not finding what you are looking for. I would consider to be the most intimidating part about this database, but again, you have tools to use that are going to help you figure out how to appropriately search. In the search tips function, that brings up this pop-up, but also going up to the menu and clicking on help. That brings up that table of contents that we were looking at earlier. Don't be afraid to use the thesaurus that is featured in the advanced search. Be open to it. Perfect, but you can adjust accordingly. Database, I thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, do not be afraid to ask. Thank you.